Yeah, you can start now.
Okay. This case says that this American MNC has opened a fertilizer factory in Goa, but and it has different repercussions. And also, the government of Goa has ordered a closure for the factory. Although the central government is saying that we need to produce more fertilizers, so although the central government is saying we need to produce more fertilizers, that doesn't mean that the practices that the American MNC is using are correct, because of the various repercussions that is happening, including the river being polluted, then dead fish being found on the coast and things like that. So there could be measures that could be taken by the American MNC to clean the water a little more before disposing it off. And there could be different um, there could be different measures taken by the factory, which could prevent the closure of the factory, at the same time benefit the locals over there who could support the factory in turn.
I
Yes.
believe that before. Okay.
Go ahead, go
Uh,
ahead.
Okay, so I believe that before we actually put the blame on the American MNC, I understand that the repercussions have happened, but before we actually certify that it is because of them, we should take samples of water from the effluent treatment plant as well as from the drain before it is putting the water out into the river, and checking if the water is actually as contaminated, or is their claim stating that their effluent treatment plants are working true or not. If it is true that the effluent treatment plants are working, we need to find out what the source of the pollution really is. And if it is that it is not working and it is actually what is causing the pollution, then we can actually, instead of shutting the entire system down, provide for better treatment plants, bring about a change in whatever the treatment plants they have, improve the mechanism, bring in chlorination if that helps, to purify it before the whole thing is drained.
I also
Yeah.
believe that if pollution is proven, we should impose fines or mandate corrective actions on the companies. And also, we can, if the pollution has harmed locals, then we should provide compensation or alternate employment opportunity to the locals.
Yes,
Uh,
because just because the central government is saying that we need to produce more fertilizers, we can't do that because ultimately environmental damage is taking place and it's the talk about public health. So we can conduct an independent audit, like there are environmental audit which takes place. So we can have a third party conducted in to check the pollution levels. And if it exceeds a certain level which is not suitable for the environment, then we can perfectly place the fines which we have discussed. And then we can talk about other initiatives as well, such as the company performing some corporate responsibility and CSR initiatives as well.
As for measuring, is there actually at fault? I do think that a government is not going to take an action as drastic as ordering the closure of an entire factory without doing some kind of a research on their own. The company can do a more in-depth research to find out what exactly is the problem, but saying that the company might not be at any fault at all, I think might be a little wrong. What the company can do is partner up with other, maybe outsource the work, or if they have been doing it themselves, or change companies that they have been using for the treatment, come up with a solid plan and present it to the government again that this is what we have decided to change. Give us a little bit of more time. Let us show you that we can improve. This is a concrete plan. Maybe that can help their case.
Yes, yes, I agree with this as well. And also, one more thing, putting fines on the company sure might help for a bit. And but giving compensation to the locals and things like that, I'm not sure how far that will help, because it's ultimately damaging uh, their livelihood, the environment, all of those things. So I don't think we can put a monetary value to those things. But I do feel there should be measures taken by the American MNC to, if this has come to light by the government, and uh, there could not be any other reason but the MNC's output for the pollution, there should be measures taken by the MNC to reduce this further. Yeah.
I
I
completely
agree.
Yes,
agree
the
with what
MNC
Vidhi
might.
said. Okay. Should I continue?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I completely agree with what Didi said. Giving monetary compensation might not be the solution because it is a short-term solution for what losses they have faced. Other than that, there is some revenue that is generated through the paddy fields and through the aquaculture as well, right? And if a fish is dying and if the fields are being affected, that revenue is being lost at the cost of a fertilizer treatment plant or a fertilizer company. So instead of giving them different jobs and changing their profile altogether and affecting that revenue which would be generated otherwise, it would be wiser to actually ask the company to change its policies, maybe through the treatment plans, or if the scenario needs, maybe like if a drastic solution is needed, maybe relocating the plant to somewhere where these practices are not properly held or where the locals are not so severely affected. Something along those lines could be done in order to maintain the sanctity of both these professions together instead of actually just dismissing one and putting them in different jobs.
Yes, the MNC might also try to find a middle ground and shift towards green manufacturing. Like they can use biofertilizers which have a less chemical dependency. So because of that, they might reduce their pollution level.
I think over here we don't really know much about the kind of fertilizers and things like that. But in any case, whatever fertilizers or whatever things that they use, there is still a lot of potential for a lot of pollution to happen if the things are not managed properly. So the most essential step over here is definitely to curb that and find a better way to not pollute so much and maybe like put another purification or cleaning method before the output is actually disposed.
Another thing in a very extreme case where maybe all of the solutions which we have listed till now do not work out and the company does have to shut the factory permanently, what they can do is approach the central government, let the present their case that since the central government itself thinks it's a very important factory fertilizers, they can ask for some sort of concession or some kind of concession to relocate their factory entirely in a different area, some kind of incentive. This way, the cost will be high, but they can minimize the cost. Worst comes to worst in this way.
I think, but in any case, even if they are permitted to relocate, there would still be the same amount of pollution, and I don't think it's okay to. I don't think the government would also be okay to just let the pollution happen if it's not affecting the locals or the marine life or whatever. So there has to be a way for this to reduce anyways.
Yeah,
No,
so when you relocate to a place where the population is not as dense or the locals are not getting affected. That is the whole point of relocation. If you relocate to another place where there's another section of the population which is going to get affected, there's no point in it. So I agree, the pollution will still happen. So for that, you do need to put in better treatment plants or different methods of purifying the water before it is actually drained into the water bodies. But if need be to relocate to a place where the population is not as high, where there are not so many paddy fields, or where aquaculture is not so predominant.
agreed with that. There's no point in relocating if they don't learn from the mistakes they've already made. They can ask the government for help for what kind of land they can shift to. The government might have more data regarding population and what kind of water bodies flow where, who uses the water. Using all of that data, they can switch to a location where where such a situation might have a lesser chance of happening again.
Yes, yes, I agree. And if they are asking for help from the government, there could be other ways they could also ask for help in terms of getting some sort of assistance with the purification of their output. Also, maybe getting someone else on board to help them out with this, or get some sort of subsidies to put adequate equipments in place for this to be more smoother and for them to bear a lower cost relatively.
Yes, and they could also switch to a location maybe where employment is already low or unemployment is higher. They can go there, they can present the locals with a sort of incentive of providing employment for them. That way, they also become good in the eyes of the locals since the very start. The locals see them with a favorable point of view already.
Okay, Manya, please summarize.
So the discussion started with there should be one second. They should conduct third party environmental audits, and they should take samples of water, and some short term solutions were also mentioned but were disregarded, like imposing fines and offering compensation to the locals. Then some CSR initiatives were discussed, and then in depth research and partnering up and coming up with a plan. Relocating to a plant was another solution that was discussed, and moving on to some sustainable alternatives was also discussed.
Ayushi, please summarize.
Firstly, the discussion leaned towards measuring if the decision was right, if the pollution was actually caused by the MNC or not, taking samples of the water body, for example, and assessing where the pollution is from. Then there was a point of view about how if the government has initiated such a drastic action, the company might be at fault. What the company could do is appeal to the government, present a concrete plan of how they will go about it, how they want to address it. Another thing, these were in an event, these don't work. There was a suggestion of completely relocating the factory. For this, the company could approach the central government, ask for incentives, provide, ask for incentives regarding relocating, assistance regarding the whole process. Afterwards, they should learn from the mistakes. They should switch to a place where such a problem may not reoccur. Yeah.
Karan, please summarize.
The discussion started with talking about checking the actual pollutions level, about the actual pollution level that the company was producing, and see whether the government has taken a right decision or not. So we talked about an independent environmental audit, and if the company was found to be guilty, we have talked about imposing fines on the company. Then we discussed about certain solutions which the company could take, like giving monetary support to the general public, but we disregard this solution as a group because that would not quite help the people around it. We also discussed that the company might take up an offer to the government about shifting their factory to a different location, which we discussed two sides. Few were favoring these decisions, but there were few of us who were not favoring this decision because the company will still be producing waste at a different location, which will not be suitable for the environment.
Okay. Again, you discussed most of the things. It was a decent discussion. Manya, why was your summary so lackluster? When you say
Sir,
that this is
lost,
discussed, you have to tell na what was discussed.
sir, I lost my train of thought in between. I'm sorry.
Okay, fine. Regarding yesterday Marisa Ayala case, there was one thing I forgot to mention, Siddha.
Yes, sir.
You had mentioned about alternative medical treatment for the Marisa Ayala.
Yes.
What were you thinking of?
I was thinking along somewhere of like Ayurveda or homeopathy because we don't know what the disease or the condition is. So if there was some solution in those along those lines, then we could talk about it.
But in the interview, you being a doctor yourself, they would question you na, that being a person with some scientific temper, why are you advocating alternative medicine?
So that is the thing. People don't realize that alternative medicine is also medicine. What we have as a part of modern medicine is something that has been derived from Ayurveda. In our hospitals, Sushruta's photo is hung up because that is where we have derived our knowledge from, and that is what has been distilled into modern science. So the problem now is because a lot of people actually who practice Ayurveda per se don't really know the essence of Ayurveda. So a lot of hoax goes around it. People on Instagram spread a lot of rumors based on the name of Ayurveda. But the actual science is legitimate. There are very few people who actually study it. So identifying who actually has a knowledge is very difficult. That is why the whole alternate medicine thing has gotten a very bad name. But even homeopathy, for example, is a 4-year course where they study medicine, where they study anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry before they go on to medicine, and they understand the whole biophysiology of different diseases and how they work.
But lot of doctors are of the opinion that homeopathy is not scientific.
I know it is a very common opinion that they believe, but it is something that I have personally tried and I have seen it work because I myself consume homeopathic medicines. Because depending on allopathy for everything is not prudent as well. If you keep, for example, if you have a viral infection, a lot of people do take antibiotics for viral infections, assuming that they will get better on their own or it will get healed faster. But that is just increasing the problem of antibiotic resistance. On the other hand, where ideally allopathy does not have a solution except for rest for something like a viral fever, homeopathy does have medication that can help. So in those sense, alternative medicines do help. When you are sick, if
What medicine homeopathic has for viral infection?
I have not studied homeopathy, so I don't know which medicine exactly, but I do know that they give out medicines which work.
COVID was a viral infection.
Yes, COVID was viral.
So this remdesivir and all that was being given during COVID, it was a hoax.
Hmm. Remdesivir proved not to be working. They
Uh,
actually proved that remdesivir was not working. It's not a hoax. It is an antiviral, but for COVID it was not working. That is why towards the end of the situation they started when the interleukin storm happened. They had to shift to steroids so that the interleukin storm actually comes down. And when it was a minor COVID disease, no one was giving remdesivir towards the third wave or the Omicron wave. People were actually just asking to take zinc supplements.
so remdesivir is an antiviral.
It is an antiviral. You usually give it for something like a hepatitis, which is also a viral condition. Hepatitis B, hepatitis C, they are all viral conditions. You give antivirals for these conditions, they help to reduce the viral load. Because hepatitis, for example, is a irreversible disease. You can't, once it happens, you can't really do anything about it. The only thing you can do is slow down the progression for which you give antivirals. So all these antivirals do work in those situations where they reduce the viral load in COVID, particularly, they were trying different combinations. For example, in the first wave, everyone was giving antibiotics. Everyone was giving amoxicillin and azithromycin. Then in the second wave, they realized that nahi yaar, nahi kaam kar raha hai. Like even though people were getting pneumonia, it was viral pneumonia. So unless you got to that stage where you had productive cough and it was suggestive of a bacterial infection overimposed on the viral infection, they were not giving antibiotics for. फिर interleukin storm हो रहा था, people were getting breathless, oxygen was dropping, they started steroids. And in very severe cases में immunotherapy.
Okay. So anybody has any questions regarding the interview or GD?
Sir, I had one question. Should I mention my score, like GMAT score, in my introduction? Because that score got me through that interview. So should I mention that?
How much is it?
I'm sorry, sir.
How much is it?
Sir, 760
On 850.
on 800.
You could mention it. No problem with that. You can ask also before mentioning.
Okay, sir.
You can say I have a very high GMAT score and then let them ask.
सर बट उस बेसिस पे ही इंटरव्यू निकला है तो फिर इसलिए आई वाज थिंकिंग कि मेंशन करना चाहिए कि नहीं.
I think usually interview में क्या होता है ना कि they don't want you to tell your percentiles and your marks because interview is an independent assessment. So you can just say that I got very high marks or I got reasonably high marks in GMAT or you can quote a percentile if you want.
ओके सर.
Anything else?
Yes, sir. I have a question regarding the interview question. I was not able to form a good answer for the question like what are your long-term goals? Like his question ka answer.
Long-term goals we have discussed quite a number of times. Long-term goal would be like 12 to 15 years time after an MBA, you will be in the policy making body of the organization you work for at a national or international level. So you will be sort of in or you can say senior management level in the organization for which I work. So at the age of 35, 40, you generally reach that level. Short term
Okay.
is to just get into a job and learn how the business or the industry works. Medium, and you are responsible for one product or two products or some location if you are in marketing. And medium term will be 5 to 7 years. So obviously your responsibilities will grow. You will handle more products or you will handle more locations. And then obviously in 15 years time, you hope to be at a senior management level, taking policy decisions.
Okay, sir.
What else? If you don't have any
And
question, uh,
for
yeah,
short
yeah.
term also, if you could elaborate.
Short term.
Huh.
Short term, for example, see, suppose you are in marketing, or suppose you are in sales. If you are in
Hmm.
sales, you are usually given a small territory where you manage the sales of, let us say, FMCG products. Suppose you are in Weavers or Cadbury or Procter and Gamble. So you may be looking after the whole of Calcutta, or maybe there are four big dealers in Kolkata. So you are managing the sales of two big dealers in your area in the short run. Means when you join a company. After 2 years, you'll be given a bigger area, which will be whole of Calcutta or Calcutta and few other districts. Like that, it spreads. Suppose you are in banking and you are in credit card and you are
Hmm.
in marketing, not in sales. So you will be the product executive of a particular credit card responsible for its sales and other things all over India, sales, promotions, and whatever reward system you want to have, all over India, you're doing it for one credit card. Do it for around 1.5 years, 2 years, then you get more credit card in your portfolio. Like that, it grows.
But if I am talking about some profile like strategy or consulting, then
In consulting, I think you start as a junior consultant. So in consulting, there is like one manager, and under him there are two consultants. Under the consultants, you have associate consultants. So under each consultant, you might have one or two associate consultant and maybe one junior consultant, something like that.
hmm.
So
Yeah.
you do all the data collection part initially from lowest level of consulting to associate consultant, you are promoted within 1 year's time. So your responsibilities increase. So your interaction will be with your next level, it will be the consultant. And then when you are a consultant, then you are dealing with your manager and you are managing the two people below you. So
So,
the
yeah.
responsibility grows.
Hmm. Hmm. Okay. Also, like in my case, I am a consultant now. So, for my short term goals, I could probably say things like getting more into the business side of things and maybe building more proposals and getting in more clients.
Getting in clients is usually in consultancies that happens at a pretty higher level,
So,
partner
yeah.
level.
Huh.
Before that, you are just doing case development and all. Case development meaning
Huh. Yeah.
uh, some client wants you to do something for them, so you have to make presentations that
Hmm.
how you'll approach, this is how the industry looks like. So to
Hmm.
make them marketing presentations that this is what we are going to do for your company.
Hmm. 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 Okay.
So that also is part of being a manager or an associate consultant or a consultant. Everybody is into that. When you don't have projects, you do these things more.
So, I could say case development, data optimization, team building, things like that.
Yeah, everything is included.
Huh. Okay.
Anything else? If not, can we conclude the class today? We'll meet again tomorrow.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank
Hmm.
you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.